I'd like to tell you about my life, story at a time. We started off in a little place called Roberts, Idaho, and that wasn't the armpits of Idaho, but it was awfully close to the armpits. That would be Pocatello. But anyway, I would like to tell you story by story my life. Now, that won't cover everything, but it'll cover the important parts, and that's what I want to do. So I assume that I'm talking to my grand people and my great grandchildren, uh, primarily, although I'm sure that it'll be watched by some others. But I just have to tell you about Roberts, Idaho, because I didn't, remember anything until I was about 3 years old, and then very little. But that's all right. What I do remember is I had some really loving, wonderful parents. Abram Fitzgerald Dally Jr. and Sadie Butters Dally. The Butters and Dally family met in Dayton, Idaho, years and years before I came along. But I was the last person in the family to be born without a doctor or a hospital. So, I was a survivor. Yes, ma'am, I was a survivor. Or sir, whichever you want to be. But anyway, Roberts, Idaho was quite a place because we were on a farm. We were on a farm about 4 miles straight west of Roberts, Idaho, on a dirt road. There was no uh, pavement right there. It was just dirt right up to the farm. And our nearest neighbor was about a half mile away. Nearest neighbor with kids our age was about, well, a little more than that anyway. So we didn't have neighbors every day that we would contact and be with and talk to and all that stuff. We had ourselves. Me and my, at that time, uh, uh, about 6 or 7, I guess, 7 family members, which is still a pretty good sized family. But we were alone together with our parents, and we associated with each other in a way that probably families just don't do these days because of the closeness of neighbors and uh, uh, the association you have with them and school and so forth. Anyway, it was a 100-acre farm. We had a team of horses and a bunch of implements, and we did everything with horses at first. And uh, when I was about, I would say probably 5, and my brother was 4, or maybe it was 5 and 6, but it was right in that neighborhood. We had a really interesting experience, my brother and I. We were very close because we were very close in age. And we did just about everything we did together. And one day we decided, let's go up on the back desert behind the house. It was kind of a hill, and you go up there, and then once you got over the hill, there would be another 20 acres down in there that was farmed. But we decided to go up there and see what we could see that would be fun to do. Because, if you get over to a ditch or something, you find toads and lizards and snakes, and over on the desert side, there'd be horned toads, that have little pokey horns on their bodies. Beautiful to look at, though. You pick them up and play with them. They're a lot of fun. But anyway, we was up there and we were walking along, and we heard this familiar sound. It was the sound of like little puppies. You know how they do? They go kind of like that. Well, we could hear that. And we looked around and we thought we could see everything that was up there. And so we didn't know what in the world or where it would be. And so we walked around and we took a big circle and looked, and pretty soon we could tell that we were getting closer because of the loudness of the whimper. And sure enough, we came to a big hole. Oh, it was a hole. It was about maybe a foot and a half across, something like that. And it was about 3 feet deep, something like that. And it was a beautiful hole, but not a place I'd want to live. But we got down on our hands and knees and looked down in there, and lo and behold, after our eyes got used to the dark down there, we could see there were little puppies down there, whole bunch of them. They were all alone. So we decided we wanted to go down there and pet them and hold them and play with them. So I lowered Dave down into there, and once he got down there, he kind of held on to me as I slid down there. And we sat down on the floor of that den, and we picked up a little puppy, and I held it up in the light of the hole, and they were gray. Well, that didn't bother me. Gray is as good as brown or white or yellow or whatever a dog might be. I held that little puppy in my arms, and it really stole my heart. It was just the cutest little thing you ever saw in your whole life. And I held it up close and put my nose against its nose, and it licked up both of my nostrils before I could move it away. Boy, it was a quick lick, but it just turned me off pretty bad, and I did not like that. And I held it out there for a while and chastised it just a little bit, but then I held it in my arms and petted it. And then I took another one up, and we just were having a good time. Finally, after about a half an hour of doing that, we decided we better get back home. It's getting later, and it was chore time, and we had little chores that we had to do while Dad milked the cows. We had to feed the pigs, and well, we weren't old enough to feed the cows much or the horses, but we did a little. And so I pushed Dave up through the hole, and he stood up there and grabbed hold of my hands and pulled me up out. And we talked about that all the way back home, how cute those little things were, and how we couldn't wait to get back up there the next day and see them again. And we went down, and sure enough, Dad was over in the barn milking the cows, and we thought, let's go tell Dad. So we went over there, and we were just all excited. We walked in the barn and said, hey, Dad, we got something really neat that happened to us that we'd like to tell you about. Yeah, what's that? We said, we were walking up on the desert, and we heard some puppies. And so we went over there and we found a hole. And we looked down in the hole, and there was a whole bunch of little puppies, and they were gray. And we got down in the hole and we played with them and petted them, and they were the cutest little things you ever saw, Dad. They were just so cute. And Dad just went really serious. He said, sons, do you know what just happened to you? And we looked at him and our faces went straight. We weren't smiling a bit because he wasn't. And he said, you just visited the home of a coyote. If that coyote would have come home while you were in that hole, you wouldn't have had heads. He said, not only that, but son, do you know what's going to happen to those little puppies now? It's nature's way of taking care of problems. But that mama will come home and she'll crawl down in that hole ready to nurse her puppies, and she'll smell you on her puppies. And guess what she'll do? She will kill them, every one. Our hearts sank clear to our big toenails. I mean, we were just sick. We did not want that to happen. And we said, Dad, can we go up and get them so they won't do it? We have no way to keep those wild animals alive. You can't be doing stuff like that. We felt awful. All night long, we felt terrible. And the next morning we got up, even though Dad said it was dangerous, we just had to see if they were still alive. So we walked up there on that old desert again. Took a little while to get there. We finally found the hole again, and we looked down in there, and oh my gosh, it was empty. There wasn't a puppy down there. And on the edge of the hole, we could see where the mother dog had drug her puppies up through the dirt, and there were blood stripes, blood stains on the wall of the hole entrance. We were just devastated. We didn't know what on earth we were supposed to do with such things. We'd never heard of anything so ghastly as a mother that would do that to its puppies or its babies of any kind. And so that was kind of an experience that we had that made us a lot more cautious about things.